Hi, I'm Jay Kruse. I'm an orthopedic surgeon with Twin Cities Orthopedics. I have a specialty interest in hip and knee replacement surgery. I was initially drawn to that specialty because I felt that I could have such a large impact in a patient's life. It's very rewarding to see someone come in suffering and struggling with their life, and then to follow them after surgery and to see them returning to the things that they enjoy. Well, simply speaking, joint replacement is when the damaged cartilage and some of the adjacent bone is removed and replaced with man-made implants. I have a model here of a knee. This is the thigh bone up top here and the shin bone below, and so the knee bend like this. And so surgically what we're doing is we're removing just enough bone with our jigs and our devices to accommodate the placement of the new artificial femoral cap. And this is then fixed to the bone with various methods, either cement or press fit. Likewise, on the shin bone side, we do the same thing. Where just enough bone and cartilage is removed to accommodate the placement of the titanium base plate. And into that base plate snaps the new cartilage, if you will, or plastic spacer. So that's what a knee replacement looks like. Likewise, in a hip, this is a model of a femur bone here. The native ball that was damaged was already removed. And the way we replace the ball on the hip side is we have an implant that goes down inside the hollow medullary canal of the bone. We shape the bone during surgery to accommodate the exact shape of that implant. Then we're able to put the new ball on. In this case, it's a ceramic ball, which is a great bearing surface. It's hard and smooth. And that's the thigh bone side. On the socket side, or the cup, likewise, we prepare the acetabulum, and then this goes up inside of it, and here's your new plastic. So together, this is kind of what a hip replacement looks like. Joint replacement is an option once all other conservative or non-surgical options have failed and a patient is still suffering. As I help my patients in the clinic work through this, we often talk about several aspects of their life. The first is you have to be able to work, and you need to be able to enjoy that work and do so pain-free. The second is you have to be able to get a good night's sleep, and we know that arthritic pain can greatly affect a patient's ability to get a good night's sleep. And sleep deprivation can have implications to their general health. Next, the patient has to be able to exercise. And a few times a week, they have to be able to do an age-appropriate exercise to maintain their health and their weight. And finally, the patient has to have the ability to pursue those hobbies and interests that bring joy to their life. And particularly in my active patients, those that enjoy activities like golfing and gardening, arthritis can have a great impact on their ability to enjoy those activities. Well, that's a more difficult question, and part of the reason it's difficult to answer is because it's an answer that's been evolving over the years. You know, traditionally, the canned answer, what we would tell patients who were in their 40s or 50s or even their early 60s was, you're too young. You're too young for surgery. And that was always a hard message to deliver. I felt as though I was failing my patients in a way, that I was telling them to go tough it out and come back in the retirement years so we can finally give them some relief. Fortunately, because some of the innovations that have happened in orthopedics, we're able to consider surgery at a much younger age than we did traditionally. Well, when I think about innovations in joint replacement, I think about them in several categories. The first is in surgical technique. You know, these are large implants, and traditionally there was a large incision made, and unfortunately a lot of inadvertent damage to the surrounding tissues. So now we're able to make smaller incisions, sometimes referred to as minimally invasive surgery. But it's not just the incision that matters, but it's also what's done underneath the skin. And so if we're gentle with the muscle and gentle with the bone, and we leave the ligamentous attachments alone, that leads to a quicker recovery, less pain, and eventually, once the patient is healed, to a more normal feeling joint. The other category that I think about with regard to innovation is in the implant design. As we showed earlier, most of these joint replacements have a polyethylene or plastic component. The initial plastics were very prone to wear, and as they wore out, it led to problems which could cause loosening of the implant or failure, and then therefore revision surgery. The scientists have now been able to manipulate the plastic so it's much more wear resistant. So the thought is less plastic wear, longer lasting joint replacement. And finally, with regard to implant design, this is that femoral implant or the thigh bone implant that I showed earlier. If you look at the top of it, it has a little different texture to it. In this case, scientists have attached small beads, and those beads then create pores. And the bone, your native bone, recognizes those pores as friendly. And what happens is your body actually goes in and grabs onto this implant. And it also has the ability to adjust its grip as the years go on. And so the thought process is that if we have a living relationship, we now have a joint replacement that could possibly outlive the patient.